Hello, my dear friends. Welcome to the East West Show. My name is Jack Zhao on the East West Show, the G&E TV. Today, joining me is my good friend, and I believe is a friend also to the community in a very tight way, Mr. Bob Lindsay, former commander of, retired commander for LASC, and he is now running for county sheriff.
Yes, sir.
Right. So, sir, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Hello, everybody.
All right. Hello, everybody. That's a good greeting, right? Ever since we started talking about the campaign, I myself went inside your background and the status quo of the department. And I find lots of areas, lots of places in question. And checking that with what we have discussed, I've started to kind of feeling more confident about what you can do, right? Today, my audience is with me. They buy me, and I believe I earn the trust because I tell the truth, only the truth, nothing but the truth.
So
right?
help
Swearingly,
us,
right?
Yes, of course.
So help you God, like that kind of thing. So they trust me. What I buy, they buy. So thank you, my audience, for laying me that kind of trust. But thing is that the more they trust you, the more you feel you got the weight on your shoulder. You really have to watch your mouth, what you do, right? So, and I want to make sure that we pick up the right man for the right job. So, are you ready, and how are you ready, please?
I'm absolutely ready. And you know, the reason that your community trusts you is because you ask the hard questions. And not only do you ask the hard questions, I cannot believe how much you have learned about the Sheriff's Department in the last few months.
Oh, yeah.
And I respect that.
Well, but after I retire, we find a job for me.
Yeah. Good. Yes,
Okay.
yes.
All right.
But you asked the question, how do I know I'm ready? Well, you, of course, know my background of 32 years having spent on the Sheriff's.
32 and a half, to be more precise.
See, there you go.
I correct you.
You know exactly.
I know exactly, yes.
And 25 different assignments all over the department, everywhere in that department. And I will tell you, and you know this business, if you just know one part of your business, that's not a good thing.
You're right.
You have to know your whole business. And that's what I know about the Sheriff's Department. I know the whole business of the Sheriff's Department.
I want to do a little insert to your statement. Okay, here on my job, if there is an event that needs to be organized,
yes,
I'm the one, right? And if there is a some bundle of magazines needs to be moved around, I'm the one, right? If there is a problem with neighbor or whatever, I'm the one, right? And if there is a magazine problem, I can write. If there's a TV program problem, I can do one, right? If there's a radio problem, I can do one. Why? Because I stay long enough, I know every corner of the room.
yes.
I'm not saying that I'm a great guy. I'm saying that time has given me the privilege of knowing all the corners of the room so that I'm the one. I'm not making a lot of money, but I'm happy with what I do. I can fulfill the job task.
And you're very good at what you do.
Yeah. Next time when you do a statement like that, use my example. And my friend Jack, a very ordinary guy, so just the time has earned him the knowledge of what he's doing as a job.
But you know what, Jack? And you just called yourself an ordinary guy. You're not an ordinary guy.
I am not
And I will tell you why. We're all ordinary, but you're extraordinary because you care. You care about the room, you care about the things that are done, and it's like any mother out there or any father who cares about their family.
You're right.
They're extraordinary in how they do that.
Yeah. With that as a point, though, you are ordinary, and you are extraordinary. You know everywhere of the job that you do.
Yes, I do.
Good. And in your case, my dear audience is in Mr. Bob Lindsay's case that he has earned his reputation of knowing every corner of the room throughout the 32 and a half years of hard working.
Yes.
So, all right. Now, The other day we were at a just a free discussion, not on the show though. You mentioned about the vacancies.
Yes.
Lots of vacancies. Some 1,500 something vacancies, job vacancies.
Yeah.
How do you define vacancies, and what causes the vacancy, and what's the filler of the vacancy, and so on and so forth. In that aspect, my audience would know that the vacancies are related to their safety, to their life, to their property, to their everything of their concern. Please.
It's directly related to the safety of the community. It's directly related to the safety of each person that lives anywhere in Los Angeles County. When you have a lot of vacancies, and there's question now because it's either between 960 or 1,400, we're not sure what the truth is because sometimes the department doesn't release all the figures. But with that many vacancies, that means those are deputy sheriffs that are not sitting in patrol cars able to respond to calls. So what happens is response times slow down, or deputies are ordered. Take, for instance, you come to work today and your boss says, well, we don't have enough people, so you're going to have to work 8 more hours. All right. You're going to have to do 8 more hours whether you like it. I'm
stretching myself out to cover 2 shifts instead of 1.
That's right. So you're going to have to work 8 more hours here at the studio, and it doesn't matter that you plan to go with your wife somewhere or your children somewhere. You have to stay here. And that's not okay.
I know exactly how that feels.
Yes.
When I do 1 show 1 day, I'm okay. Sometimes I do it in a compact way because of guest schedule. That is only available time as my next hour, right?
Right.
So I go straight on to the next one. By the time I finish my next show towards the end, especially at the 4th segment, I feel like I was kind of like, I'm dizzy when I stand up. I feel like stepping on cotton.
You're tired, you're drained. It's
Apply
hard.
my situation, I'm not in charge of public safety.
Right.
If that happens to somebody who's in charge of public safety, yeah, that is dangerous, yes.
Well, it's very dangerous. That, you know, they may be on their 16th hour and they go to a call where they have to pull out their gun or they have to do something, and now they're making decisions and they're tired.
Within the second.
Yes.
Yeah,
within a fraction of a second, they have to make that decision.
Yeah. And I would say that jobs are of different characters. My job doesn't call for emergency, and whatever I do, good or bad, nobody dies, right? If I do a bad show, nobody dies from it.
Right.
If some cop does a bad job, somebody dies.
They could.
That's the essence of the job.
Yes.
It allows no negligence, anyway, you have to do everything to the most extent, right? So now, when those quote-unquote vacancies happen, what caused it?
Well, it's a lack of preparation, and the sheriff is not prepared to hire those individuals into those positions. And I'll tell you, there's repercussions. If you don't hire all those bodies, then you don't have enough bodies to fill patrol, the jails, the courts, special assignments. You don't have enough detectives in the back to handle cases for the public. So let's say there's identity theft or there's something else that happens. If there's nobody sitting in that chair to work it, the piece of paper sits there and nobody looks at it.
I see.
And they look at it maybe 5 months from now, 6 months from now. The same thing is happening on the department. Let's say a deputy gets in trouble. Not a big thing, but a little thing. They're sending them home. They're waiting at home for their cases to get done. They're getting paid, but they're not doing their cases for 6 months, 7 months, 8 months.
Okay, I see
and
what
then
you
they
mean.
finally finish their case and they say, you can come back to work now.
Okay.
But they should have been back to work 6 months ago.
Okay, very good. So in other words, the 6 months of time and money and the manpower kind of wasted.
It's completely wasted.
Completely wasted. And then when the person comes back for the same job for something after investigation or whatever, or hasn't even started to do the job, it makes a lot of sense when you talk about vacancies.
Well, think about that person too. The rule on the sheriff's department is if they send you home, that means you have to stay in your house from 8 to 5. How would you like every day for 6 months to have to stay in your house from 8 to 5?
Oh my God.
Would that drive you crazy?
All right. I'll go crazy already.
Yes.
All right, my dear friends, my dear audience, my lovely audiences. If you read the magazine of issue 937 on this one, and you flip the page, you'll see on this index, you'll see Bob's picture, my friend Bob Lindsay, who is the candidate for county sheriff for our lovely county of Los Angeles. So this is it. There are lots of stories about him. I composed the article for the magazine. I just selectively took a few, very few. Today is a chance I want to go deeper with him to find out those details, those are missing points, right? Sometimes the devils are in the detail.
Yes.
So we will do the details. Stay with us. We'll be right back, please. Hello, my lovely friends, my dear audiences. Welcome back to the show. My dear fellow Angelinos, you're welcome back. You're seriously welcome back to the show, which is a discussion about our beautiful county of Los Angeles. When you call your county Los Angeles home, the home must be safe. Right? Home must be cozy, must be safe, must be lovely. Home must be protected by who? By county sheriffs, by the sheriff officers, right? So now, the deputies, of course, might do well. There are lots of deputies, but there are more areas, more population to cover, and the scarcity of the spread of the law enforcement officers on the street, right, reduces the safety feature of your community. Today, with my good friend Bob Lindsay, candidate for county sheriff, we're going into depth about the department, about what's wrong, what's been devastating, what has been done, what has to be done right away. Otherwise, we're running just at the risk of risking our public safety, our community safety. All right, so welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Jack.
And by the way, if you're a reader of a magazine, this magazine, check issue 937 on page 12. There is a big article about the candidate, Bob Lindsay. Not only is he a visionary who can see beyond 5 inches, sometimes people do, right? Okay. But also, he has the tactics of actually doing the job, right? So now we were talking about the vacancy. There are many. The exact number remains unknown because, well, nobody is willing to expose, but there are quite a few hundreds, 9, 14, 15, who knows, right? Now, what causes the vacancy? You said it's called a lack of vision, lack of planning, right? But is there a cure? Where is the cure for the vacancies, please?
There is a cure, and it is a lack of planning. It's a lack of vision. It's really, to me, it's a lack of caring, because you need to know that if you do not hire enough people, it's going to impact the people in the community. And I'll give you another example, and I do have a solution. But take, for instance, when you don't have enough bodies or you don't have enough vision, this sheriff got rid of what we call the Asian Crime Task Force. That is a group of individuals.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
We
felt hurt.
That's right. They were focused on the Asian community to help the Asian community. to solve crimes in the Asian community, to talk to the people in the Asian community. And it was filled with recruits and deputies who were Asian.
And the fact is that the Asian community, Asian task force, is not only helping with the Asian community, it is helping with the overall situation.
All crime.
All crime. All crime, all right? But it goes across culture, goes across language, it goes across concept, which is so important. So if you take that off, of course, it was taken off, right? It was taken off.
Yes, it's gone.
It was closed, it's gone. So in other words, once you take office, you want to resume it?
Absolutely, immediately it will be resumed. But there's even more to it than that. I have spoken with people on that task force, and the relationship that they had with the community was one of complete trust.
You're right.
They knew in the community they could call that deputy on their cell phone any time of the day or night, and that they would understand their situation.
You're right.
And they would help the family. They would come talk to the family.
You're right.
And that sometimes they settled things without any police intervention at all. It was just a relationship. They would come in,
the relationship and the trust,
and give advice, tell them how to handle the situation. And those are the things that we're now lacking and that we're now missing.
Why would the incumbent cancel or close that special force?
I don't know. Maybe it's, some people have told me, but he didn't tell me directly, that he doesn't think there's any crime in the Asian community. I don't know why he would do that, because there's crime everywhere.
But the Asian communities are being attacked.
Well, and
by
businesses.
lots of crimes.
Of course, businesses, the community, the people in the community, the homes, whether it's burglaries, it doesn't matter what it is.
Yes, you're right.
But there's a real need, because let's face it, a lot of people sometimes in different cultures are afraid just to go to the police. But when they know who the police are and the police are coming to them,
yeah, you're
it
absolutely
builds
right.
that bond.
You're
it builds
absolutely
that
right.
bond.
You're absolutely right.
And then the police hear more.
You're absolutely right.
We know where to go, we know what to do.
And exactly the case. And I thank you very much for mentioning that as a talking point. My dear audience, EDI as a public media, we are not only do news, we do public event. We do public one for the outreach to people, right? And every time, say, China New Year, the full moon, Happy Family, the Moon Festival, and also the film festival, and every of that single event, we purposely, we tentatively, or we intentionally invite police officers to mingle among the people, among the audiences.
Very important.
Yeah. And they chat, and then the officers, even though fully armed and dressed up in uniform, they mingled and they go, peddler by peddler, they have the shoppers and doing their barbecue stuff with beef. This, they started talking to people. So, and this we see as a functioning to soothe the relationship between the community members and the service member and law enforcement.
It does. It relaxes the relationship wherein people can communicate much easier.
Yes, relax is the word. So you will focus on that once you take office?
Absolutely. There's many things to focus on. That is one.
I know, but we are on that issue.
Yes.
And that issue happens to lots of my audience concern.
Right. Well, and let me add to that, Jeff. There's a need for the sheriff, and I hope he's listening, because I hope he brings back the Asian Crime Task Force right now. He shouldn't wait for me to be the sheriff. He should do it right now, and I hope that's what he does. But I will tell you that the sheriff also has to empower his deputies. I don't know if you saw on the news last night, in La Puente, there was an individual who was jumping from people's roofs to their roofs to their roofs. The sheriff's department came out there and They negotiated with this person for 4 hours, trying to get him down off the roof. They finally gave up. You know who got the person off the roof? A homeowner. An 83-year-old homeowner climbed up on the roof and told the person to get down on the roof. It wasn't the deputies. And it wasn't the deputies because this sheriff and some of its leadership, they're afraid to do things like that because they think they'll be in trouble for doing their job. And that's a problem.
I see.
The deputies need to feel that they can come to a home and do their job.
If you really want to analyze that case, I heard there was a standoff. I didn't get into the detail. If it had been like that, it means an indication of combined problems.
Yes.
Of lots of problems combined, right? And number one, if we had the minority group task force, and that can kick in, that can communicate with the same language, same thing. All right. Now that I learned after this current sheriff took office, he canceled many of the minority group task forces, right?
He did. Yes, he did.
And did he keep anything? Or not canceling?
I think he kept a couple of groups. I think he kept some groups over in the West Hollywood area and in the West LA area.
Which group?
I believe the gay, lesbian, transgender.
Oh, they are important. Yeah.
Yes, it's a very important
They're
group.
very important, yeah.
And then also the Jewish group.
Okay.
There was a group of Jewish reserves and or community members that were kept intact. A lot of the groups that weren't kept intact were the Chinese community, the Pakistani community, the Armenian community, the Iranian community. There were many communities that just dissolved for whatever reason that the sheriff
Did
decided.
he dissolve the special task forces because of money? Because of budget?
No, absolutely not, because all of these community groups were working for free, and the reserves, believe it or not, they'll put on a uniform, they'll go out, they'll give their time, they get paid $1 a year. And in California, on that $1, you can also take the taxes off.
Oh yeah, $1
so it's
tax
less,
off.
Yeah, it's less than $1. And they're doing that all for the community purpose, all to help the community, because why? Out of the goodness of their hearts is what they're doing it for. Many of them are businessmen like yourself who have a lot to give to the community.
I want to get to the bottom line. The bottom line is that if it doesn't cost or didn't cost the department any money, and on the other hand, it does a lot of good to public safety, community safety, why would it be canceled?
Politics.
Politics of what?
The politics of worrying about who they're for, who they're going to vote for, what they're doing, and things like that. It wasn't about the community. If it was about the community, they would have all stayed intact.
There must be something, because a cancellation, well, has a motive, right? If the motive was not for money, the motive must be for something else, right?
Well, there were reserves that were literally doing nothing. They weren't doing anything other than providing food, baskets, and presents for military people. They were terminated. Why? Is that a bad deal? That's not a bad thing. I mean, it's not a bad thing to give to the military families when they're overseas, but yet they were taken out and released from service, and so that program was taken away.
It sounds all mystifying to me. I can't get the motive of canceling those special task forces. My dear audience, my lovely fellow Angelinos, today we're doing a discussion about the county sheriff with my friend Bob Lindsay, candidate, the most hopeful candidate, the most, not one of, hopeful for county sheriff. So far that I see exactly that lots of people and lots of my friends like his concept, like his experiences, like his devotion. Let's take a very short moment out. When we come back, we'll continue finding those missing points. Right, stay with us. Hello, lovely friends, my dear audience. Welcome to the show, my dear fellow Angelinos. This is the important discussion. It is discussion about our LA County Sheriff Department. Though we have lots of county sheriff deputies, but the sheriff itself, the boss, is the key. Is the key. You have a good key, you have a good key. You don't have a good key, you don't have a good key. Right? Things are that simple. The good key functions, and every department works, and then you are safer. If the key person fails to work, well, anyway, so you know the consequences, right?
Absolutely.
Today with me, by the way, if you read the magazine, the City Newsweek, the issue 937 on page 12, you will find a story of my friend Bob Lindsay. I admire Bob Lindsay not only because he's a friend of mine, he's a friend of community. I admire him for mostly his wisdom, his experiences, and his guts, and his heart, big heart, ready to serve.
Thank you.
Those
Jeff.
4 elements that made me so determined to endorse him. I personally endorse him as the TV show. And on behalf of G&E TV, I endorse him. And my audience, I'm showing you the picture of me wearing the Bob shirt.
Right.
That is my
is.
endorsement.
And you look
right?
good in it.
Okay, very good. And I'm not even asking $1 from you.
No.
So, well,
Nothing.
we'll do it for the sake of the community. Right now, back to the points though. We're talking about when the task forces are canceled, what are the result? As a result, what we see on the street.
Well, let me say this. You know, there were a couple of these community groups that were kept intact. They were kept there, and I am very happy he did that. Why he got rid of the others is an amazing problem. It is a huge problem. Those all need to be rectified. They all need to be brought back, because let's put it this way. When you have a community group which is full of businessmen, hardworking blue-collar people, that can all get together and talk about the issues in the community. And every community is different. They all have different issues. But when they can talk about those issues, and somebody from the sheriff's department can sit and listen, don't talk, just listen, then you can figure out how to solve the problems.
All right.
And then when you allow the community to give you solutions, if those solutions work for the sheriff's department, then you should implement them. And that partnership, that ability to work together gets things done much quicker.
In other words, you have another pair of eyes, you have another set of ears.
You have a whole city full of eyes.
You have a whole city full of eyes to watch for you.
Yes.
Right? So, why I don't get to it, why it was canceled, why not? Why not keep it there, right? So, okay, anyway, let's move on. If it is not an issue of money, you're talking about politics. Is politics important in the department?
Politics seems to be taking front seat in the department, and that's the problem. We don't need a politician as a sheriff. We need a sheriff as a sheriff. We need somebody who is going to care about the community at whole, not about a headline in a newspaper.
You're right.
We don't need that. What we want is what's best for everybody. But if you get one group out there that's screaming at him, and then he tries to service just that group, that becomes a problem for everybody else. And that's not what we want. We want everybody served.
Baby.
That's right. We want everybody served.
Baby, right.
And we want the department served. We don't need somebody at the top who is going to do something bad for the department because somebody else is screaming at him.
To tell you the truth, for the department, they really want a bunch of officers with their boss, well, kind of like doctors, right? They cure problems.
Yes.
They cure problems. They stop talking. They never talk about politics, because politics has nothing to do with the community safety, right? When you are talking about exposures on and on every single day, though, you are a politician, making yourself a politician rather than a sheriff. right? So when you take office, you would probably create or correct the culture.
Well, not only will I correct the culture, and I'll give you an analogy. So, your doctor analogy.
Yeah.
The deputies are doctors. They go out to solve problems. They go out to do surgery on situations. They have their tools, but what this sheriff has done, he said basically if you use that scalpel or if you use your tools, you may get in a lot of trouble. So before they go to use their tool, they're afraid to use their tools in order to conduct surgery. Now, if you have a doctor who isn't going to use his tools, you're not going to have a successful surgery.
Being afraid of getting into trouble.
Getting into trouble all the time. There are more people fired in
Does
the
that
department
principle echo with the roof guy?
Absolutely.
I think they echo, right?
You know what? If you had asked those deputies, go out there and do your job. Just go out there and take care of this. They know how to do it. But when you go out there and you say, wait a minute, I'm going to get in trouble if I climb on the roof. I'm going to get in trouble if I touch him. I'm going to get in trouble if I do this. I'm going to get in trouble for everything I do. They quit doing it. And that's why you had an 83-year-old man climb up a ladder onto a roof to deal with somebody who wouldn't get down for the sheriff's department.
What a wonderful community member.
In fact, the captain of that station tweeted out, this was his tweet, he tweeted out, an 83-year-old resident did what the sheriff's department couldn't do.
What an interesting story.
It's a sad story, actually.
What an interesting story.
And you know, I want to make it very clear, it's not the deputy's fault. The deputies want to, and the deputies would have taken care of that situation if they felt they would have been supported.
Yeah. Remember at the last discussion, you and me, you mentioned some, if they get into trouble for a small thing, they get disciplined all the way down to the bottom.
Right.
And they're sometimes staying home, just the whole career is done. They don't want to run into that kind of risk.
There are more people, more deputies, more employees off sick and injured right now because they simply do not want to come back to work because they think it's dangerous to come back to work, not because they're going to get killed, but because they're going to be disciplined or fired or something bad is going to happen.
Either way.
So they're better off, in their minds, staying at home, which obviously impacts the public. We need them at work. We need them to feel confident.
I see. And for that though, when you take office, how you want to bring the morality? It's a morality issue, right? The morality is kind of suppressed. It's not a low, it is suppressed low. So once you're in office, how you want to lift the morality, please?
You know what? Just as I love the community, and we want the community to be safe, I want the department to be safe. We have to focus on the employees. We have to let them understand we're here to support you. We're not a one-way street. We're not just listening here and not listening to you. It's a community. The sheriff's department is a community. It has professional staff members who do an amazing job in keeping structure and helping the deputies do their job. And so what we would do is we would build that confidence back up. You know, this sheriff changed the discipline procedures. Back when Lee Baca was there, Lee Baca believed in compassion. He believed in education-based discipline. The deputies aren't getting training now. They're getting almost no training. But what he believed was if you do something wrong, I would like to train you so you can do it right, rather than firing you and trying to hire somebody else. Every time you fire a deputy, you have wasted thousands and thousands and thousands of taxpayers' dollars.
All the money is spent prior. Right?
Now that doesn't mean that some people shouldn't be fired. We all know they should. Some doctors need to be fired. Some lawyers, I wish they were fired.
There are bad apples everywhere.
And some policemen need to be fired, but not as many as we have being fired right now.
Okay, very good. And they're afraid of, you know, it's the culture, it's the environment also that has a part of it, because they're kind of accusing too much about quote unquote police brutality, stuff like that. And for that, lots of people recommend about the body cameras. Okay, so,
Right.
what's your comment? What's your take on body cameras?
I think body cameras are excellent for the deputies. There's problems associated with body cameras, the types of cameras, what they'll view, if they go out, if there's maintenance issues. So there's a whole slew of problems. But I will say this, deputy sheriffs, they don't mind typically if anything is filmed. They like the evidence. You know, there's a lot of us, and
Of
even
course,
back,
yeah,
and I'm a little bit older, okay, just a little bit.
No,
But when we were out in patrol, we used to carry voice recorders. And you know why we carried them? Because there were people who would lie about what we said.
I see.
And we wanted the evidence so that we could take it to our command
to
staff
protect
and said, wait a
ourselves,
minute,
yeah.
they're not telling the truth. Here's what happened. So cameras protect deputies just as much as they protect the public.
All right, okay. So, so once you take office, how do you think you can plan on the cameras, please?
Well, we'll work on it. These are negotiated issues, and so for me to say this is what will happen would be inappropriate. But those are union issues, those are public issues, and I think the department is headed to where they do want the body cameras.
Okay.
The issue becomes in how do you implement it, how do you place them out there, what's the cost of the cameras, and what's the cost of the maintenance. And then of course, the evidence rules, the storage. It gets very, very complicated as to how it works. But you know, in the jails right now, there's cameras everywhere. There's cameras everywhere. And I was talking to attorneys yesterday who said that it appears to them, based on the cameras being in the jail, that there's less use of force, there's less use of
you're right.
There's less problems. So cameras, and we all know that when we drive up to a signal and there's a big camera,
it deters.
It deters you
deters
from going
wrong activity.
Of course it does.
And my audience, I hope you also want to understand that the camera protects you, protects me, protects everybody as a community member, as versus the conduct of police officers, right? If everybody behaves in the way it's supposed to behave, well, we don't even need a camera. But now, on the subject, we have to have something that deters everybody to back off from wrongdoing, and then you are forced, over time, you are forced to do the right thing. Right?
Yes.
That is so positive. I'm so glad that my friend Bob Lindsay decides once he takes office, he will look into the matter, have it either done or developed, right? So, my dear friends, we take a very short moment now. When we come back, we'll find out about how people dispatch money. Stay with us, please. Hello, lovely friends, my dear audience. Welcome back to the East-West Show. Name is Jack with G&E TV. Today, at my pleasure, my friend Bob Lindsay, candidate of LA County Sheriff, is here to shed his light on this issue. The issue being how we want to make our community safer. Of course, we have the facility. We have LA PD, we have the department there, and how the department is working is question number one. Question number two, the head of the department, which is the sheriff, right? Is he adopting all the kind of right policies or principles or tactics that makes the department work better, right? We are discussing those issues. With my friend Bob, if you check the magazine, the weekly news magazine, on page 12, you will find an article that I composed about him, talking about money. Like I said, I was the one doing the interview, and I selectively took some points to compose the article, right? Basically, talking about the two issues that we discussed. Number one, we're talking about the label. Right. Number two, we're talking about the buckle.
Yes.
Right. Those issues are all money related. right? To those of you who read this article, you must laugh over the way business is conducted. But exactly with Bob, I believe that's a very, very sad issue when money is that's spent in that way. I call it a squandering.
Yes.
Myself, right? To my audiences, why don't you go back to the story? Some of them might not even have read this, so please.
I'd be happy to go back. Look, at the taxpayer money is a very important aspect of what the department gets. $3 billion budget.
With a B.
With a B. The Sheriff's Department budget is bigger than many countries. And so that doesn't mean you can just spend it when and wherever you want and just waste it. You need to spend it wisely. You need to spend it doing things for the community. You need to spend it giving training to the deputies. You need to spend it giving service to the communities that we serve. In this case, what the sheriff has done on several fronts is he made the deputies get heavier uniforms, which, you know, and why? Because he wanted the badge to be straight.
To be straight.
Rather than it move a little bit. Well, those heavier uniforms in the summer make the deputies really hot.
Given the climate of Los Angeles, Southern California, you're talking about, well, summertime is a
very uncomfortable. I mean, we don't want to walk out wearing jackets. We want to walk out and at least be comfortable when we're doing our jobs.
All right.
He also had all of the deputies change their belt buckles. Thousands and thousands of dollars, and he took many people to process this. So count those thousands of dollars in people that he used, deputy sheriffs that he used.
Because of the color.
Because of the color of the buckle. He wanted them to be gold instead of silver. Yes, if you get a chance, look up Jimmy Kimmel, Sheriff's Buckles, and you can watch what he thought about it. And then of course, the stickers on the cars. He didn't like that it said tradition and the of, I believe, was capitalized or other. He didn't like the capitalization or the non-capitalization, so he changed and began changing all of the stickers on the cars, which was thousands of dollars. And I will tell you, I've seen those cars so many times on a daily basis, and I don't think the community cares. Why would they want to spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on a sticker when that car is done and a new car comes in, put the new sticker on it.
Put a new sticker. All right.
Put the new sticker on it. But instead, we threw that money away. Where would it have been better spent? On the public, on deputies, doing the things that really matter.
And we really want to spend some time on this issue. When you're talking about sheriff is not only the commander of the whole department, and sheriff has to be the one that governs the money, right? That secures the money, that makes sure the money is spent elsewhere for better purposes. You mentioned about vacancies, right? How about we spend that kind of money towards vacancies? Right?
That money, Jack, that money is already there. Recruitment. Perfect. See?
Recruitment. Or community outreach.
Yes.
Right?
Perfect examples. Perfect examples.
Yeah. And for many times, I when I was on my show talking about pleasing conduct, I'm learning as I go that police officers have the right to elevate, right? If you if you hit me, I can draw my gun, right? If you put a knife, I can fire, like that kind of elevation thing, right? For that, I learned myself as a newsman who has a privilege to see you guys often.
Yes.
To the community members, they don't. They don't have the privilege, right?
Right.
What if we put some discussions or forums or classrooms or training offices for community members to come and join for a nice evening? We have a couple of officers explaining to them. Right?
That's what those community groups were for.
Yeah.
They were there to bring the community in and show them all the things.
Use the money that way to educate the community, right? And of course, we have lots of people who are bilingual or trilingual. Why don't you put up a class, hire a few of them to come communicate with you, to train officers bilingual, trilingual?
You know what, and this is to everybody in the community. When I'm the sheriff, I will tell you, we need translators. We need people to come help us do those sorts of things. That we can call on the phone and say, hey, we need you to help us translate a situation that we have. We're looking for people like that all the time. Not under this sheriff, but under myself. All of those things will be reestablished so that we have a network. And it's a network of community and policing that works together.
I really appreciate that. There was one morning I was in a restaurant when a baby, like say less than a year old, right, with a pot of soup, hot soup, dropped on her leg. The leg is burned so severe that she rubs it and the skin peeled off. Skin peeled. She's only a tiny baby, teeny tiny baby, right? At that very moment, everybody was looking around, said, call the police, call the police. And they said, we don't speak English, right? And I jumped in, I called 911, I get the police, and I help them with the ambulance and everything, whatever. The baby went to the hospital, something like that.
Yes.
That I thought, if the mother, right, picks up the phone, call, and speak Chinese, the language, right? And the department has somebody who speaks the language. If the department has somebody who speaks the language, the whole thing is okay, it's done. Right?
Yes.
Now they have to wait and wait until, well, somebody jumps in. So.
Well, getting somebody on scene, now 911 just has translation services.
Do that, please.
But
yes.
We need people to come to the scenes that can help the situation. And how about that mother or that father? How traumatized were they that their baby was like that?
Yeah.
We need somebody from law enforcement that can come down there and console them, talk to them, and find out what happened, rather than having somebody who does not speak the language come down and try and figure out what occurred.
Yeah, Bob, I'm going to ask you, do me a favor.
Yes, sir.
I want you to promise my audience that once you take office, you will have those things done. Those are so important. It's kind of heartfelt importance, you know. It is heartfelt importance.
We need those things done. We also, aside from just translation, we need recruitment. We need the mothers and fathers out there who want their kids to become deputy sheriffs.
Beautiful.
Or custody assistants or security officers.
Beautiful.
We need him to guide them in the right direction in school.
Beautiful.
So that we can recruit their kids and bring them on the department.
Very beautiful.
It's a very good job. It's a very good job.
My dear audience, my request, my friend Bob Lindsay, candidate for sheriff, had made a promise that he will, once taking office, have those jobs done, because those are the importance that is so heartfelt. That will go to every community member, concerns everybody, you, me, he, her, whoever, like that. My dear audience, today with me is my good friend Bob Lindsay, candidate for county sheriff, and we believe our LA County deserves a better department that will help us, that would protect us, but that kind of department calls for the right person to lead, right? Leading that department, in my eye, my friend Bob Lindsay is the one, plus he has the 32.5 years of experiences. He is ready to serve. He is ready to devote his big heart to serve. Everything is ready. And also, he is ready to bring back the Asian task force, the minority task force, and he is doing the outreach. He is ready to do the outreach. He is going to manage the money wherever it necessarily need. Stop squandering.
Yes.
No buckle stuff like that. Okay, anyway, so on and so forth. And this is not the last show, even though the election is next June, but there is something by December or November, right?
Right. The election's actually June of 2018, but we're out there. If you want to come see me or call Jack,
of course, yeah. And And there's going to be lots and lots of discussion about as we go along. So, my dear friends, my lovely audiences, thank you for watching. And to my dear friend Bob, thank you for coming, sharing.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
All right.